So Shirley, we're here getting ready to talk about part 2, staging and design. We have all of our ideas from our kind of our self-exploration and our thinking, and now it's time to put all those ideas on the floor and to let them manifest into a show, build a show.
That's absolutely right, Carl, and it's the most important aspect there is,
Yeah.
because it sets you up for everything you want to have done. Do keep in mind the difference between presentational color guard. That's when you run out from behind your props and everybody does this fabulous little equipment moment, and they run back.
Scurry away. Scurry up and scurry away.
And then there is the continuity and development of one idea to the next, where motion comes into play.
Key.
Motion is a key element in the design elements. And that leads me to the obvious next question. Do you know all the aspects of design? And where can you find them?
In the manual. They're all in the manual.
That's right. I mean, you got to know why you go from texture to line, and why you create linear to curvilinear or symmetry to asymmetry.
Absolutely.
You got to know all that, and it's all there. It'll guide you like...
And as soon as you read them, you'll think of examples in shows that you know, that you're
sure.
familiar with. They go, oh, I know what that is.
Sure.
Oh, I know what that is. You may just be confused with what to call it.
And as you're doing your layout, you're following your blueprint.
Yep.
You're going to keep in mind pacing, because the music will have done that for you. Had you done well in picking your music, you'll have no problem. You'll have impact, you'll have resolution, you'll have, dynamic changes and so forth. It'll all lay itself out for you. God bless the music.
A great piece of music will have so much of that built in and allow you options.
And you know what? It will lead you to what will be the characteristics and the personality of the color guard. Mm-hmm. And that's another little thing that you can call upon the students for. Think about having them go out and improv to the music you've chosen. Watch what they do at a natural, instinctive level, both at a body and a characteristic level,
sure.
but also at an equipment and movement.
You'll find what resonates with them when you do that, and I found that also as a great shortcut to find to be a vocabulary builder.
Oh God, yes, absolutely.
And the details, nuance, characteristics is such a key, important aspect of both of those upstairs captions. They reward it, and it's the thing that makes it different from random acts of color guarding. Is that a great piece of music with a great blueprint will bring that to life, and then those characteristics layered on top of that are only going to increase your design depth, which you definitely address in the memo, which I think is really important.
And here's the other thing too. It will guide you from the placement on stage for your rifle feature to the next placement on stage for your saber feature or whatever. And that's when we say staging. What are you staging? You're staging your equipment and body.
Those events.
You're giving us that gourmet meal, that moment. And so you have to be real careful about that. And then coordinate. Make sure they blend together. One voice, multiple voice, what have you. So that the blueprint of the sound design, which I said earlier in the other one, and you reaffirmed, single most pivotal thing you can do.
It does more than half of the work for you.
Oh, yeah, it does. And you know what? It'll make the judges forgive you if it's a great piece of music. I'm serious.
Absolutely does.
I mean, if they've got something fabulous to listen to, they're not going to be half as critical as if you give them something that's designed to put them to sleep in the first 5 seconds.
You had mentioned also before talking about, at different parts, especially early in the season, you're kind of workshopping ideas. And so there may be an equipment event, or you may initiate from staging. Some people actually start with the equipment and then kind of move it around the floor to see what it can do.
That's an option.
Yeah, and then other people will, especially if you have a hired gun that comes in and does your staging, starts with the form first or the staging, and then they layer or they decorate the lines, like they kind of do on the football field. But once you get inside with our activity, equipment and movement are also considered your design elements. So it's not just the space, but the choices you make, the choreographic choices you make inside of that staging also have to be coordinated. They ultimately design judges hold you accountable to every decision, and they assume that every choice is somehow connected and related. So all of those things through interrelationship all have to be considered. And you talked about coordination from rifles to sabers. Each effect has a way to build in and a way to build out. And
your job is huge.
Yeah. And early, I think, find out, kind of place them on the floor in different places and see where you like the event.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of get a good idea of, I really like this over here. It shows off this part of the choreography. And then do yourself a favor and maybe do a little 8 to 16 counts before I used to work in reverse to do it, but ultimately what you're doing is you're building into the effect so that the staging then also feeds into the resolution in a surprising way, and it doesn't just depend on a change in the visual presence of the equipment, but the staging also.
I remember when I first learned how to write backwards so that the event would be culminated where it was supposed to be. Oh my God, I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
So many of those great things that come out that look like detailed design happen through that writing backwards.
Absolutely.
And kind of getting understanding.
Absolutely. So do relate to the manual. Please relate to the score sheet. That's what drives the number.
So much of those things are all there, and you will recognize more of those words than you realize. And if you ever get lost or you're confused, obviously you can always call Shirley or myself. But the easiest thing is the frequently asked questions in the back of the manual. So many of those things are explained. But those design elements, you know them, you just don't know that you know them. Just go look at them and you'll go, yeah, I know what that is.
You know, staging, in my opinion, is one of the most difficult aspects of what we do. And I know every equipment person now is going to argue with me, but I'll tell you, if you don't do that, and you can go back and look at the finalists, and they all have really good staging so that they bring you that visual impact of the beauty of the design. So don't overlook it and don't think it's just functional.
The design allows all of those things to work together beyond what just any one of those single elements can provide.
Well
and
said.
When it's done right, it just elevates everything. And you're right. So much of those kind of the independent thinkers that only work on one aspect, and you can tell that they're not of the same brain or guided by the same vision, all that's filtered out through those qualifying rounds.
Sure is.
You're absolutely right.
So I wish you the very best in your staging efforts. If you have questions, guess what the answer is? It's either the manual or it's Carl or me.
That's right, right.
And we're happy to do it. So
awesome.
have a great season.
Start early and workshop. That's key.